Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Charlie McDennis.
Oh my god! So now I'm gonna have to figure out how that's spelled now.
It's a title of an episode. You'll be all right.
Wait, it's the title of the episode?
No, of the Sunny Philadelphia episode. Yeah, Charlie McDennis, the Game of Games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a combination of all their names. Charlie, Mac, D, and Dennis.
Jesus Christ. I need to catch up on that. When I say catch up, I mean
just watch the whole thing.
Just watch the whole thing. I started it like forever ago, and then I just didn't continue to watch it. But I want to, because I mean,
I get that.
It's got Charlie Day in it.
Of course.
And Rob McElhenney.
Yeah.
And Caitlin Olsen. I always think her name was Kristen.
And my boy Glenn Howerton. Come on, man. And Danny DeVito?
And Danny DeVito.
Come on. All right. So that's just the whole cast. So before we get started, I don't think, since we took a week off or whatever, I want to do a quick shout out to Blonde. Everybody needs to watch Blonde.
Well, because I was going to lead with that. We're finally back after a week.
Yeah.
Got back from Austin, saw Harry Styles.
Oh, yeah.
She was tight. I got my new tattoo. Oh, it's upside down. There we go.
Yeah.
New tattoo. But before I left, we saw Pearl.
Oh, that's right. We did watch Pearl. Yeah.
Did we talk about how
that was so long ago?
how badass X was? Did we talk about that?
I think so. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Pearl was awesome.
Yeah, Pearl was great.
Ty West is a fucking madman.
Yeah. Mia Goth is genius. She's so good.
And again, I've said it. She must have destroyed her vocal cords.
Yeah.
For this movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, the movie was tight.
The movie was so good, man.
It's like if you took Wizard of Oz and just added gore.
The first half of, or the first like 15 minutes of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and just added gore and sex.
Yeah.
It was tight.
It was very, very, very good.
And yeah, I want to see Blonde.
Yeah.
I know you told me
it is getting terrible reviews. It's getting slaughtered. It shouldn't be getting slaughtered. I think that once you realize it's based on a fictional novel, it's not supposed to be accurate, it's all that stuff.
Yeah, and
and I sent you that video about Andrew Dominic.
I saw him
Cinefix,
it,
yeah.
But my thing with that is, had he done an actual biopic, it would have still been fictionalized. Regardless, like he would have had to change certain details. He would have had to.
Yeah, this one is a little more. It's way more brutal, right? I mean, I think it's Joyce Carol Oates is the woman who wrote the novel, and she just puts Marilyn through the ringer. I mean, it is brutal. But of course, and over half that stuff didn't happen. So it's wild.
Well, and also Marilyn Monroe did go through a lot of shit.
Yeah, and I think what it is about putting her through all of this in this fictionalized way is so you know how it feels to be Marilyn Monroe. It's not this tragic. It was tragic, but not this tragic, right? But to be able to get an audience to sort of be put in that predicament, you need to kind of up the ante a bit. You know what I mean? Is I think the point. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm talking out of school here, but I think that that was the intention. And honestly, man, the direction, the acting, the editing, the everything about it is just awesome. Well, it's so good.
Well, man, and when I saw that first teaser, and we heard a little bit of Ana de Armas's voice as Marilyn, I was like,
it's pretty good.
I'm sold. Let's do this.
She's still Cuban. She can't hide that, know. But so a little bit of that accent's still there. But I mean, it's awesome. She did a great job.
Well. And I'm going to be real, I kind of take your word over critics and over all the other hate.
People are so mad about it. They're like, it's exploitative, it's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
but
that's what they say about Rotten Tomatoes. That's what the thing on Rotten Tomatoes says, that it's talking about the exploitation of Marilyn while also exploiting her. And it's like, but I feel like that would be the point, though.
And also, it's like, what, were you like friends with her or something? Like, what do you care? Oh, I'm sorry. She your aunt or something? I don't understand. That's what I don't understand about stuff like that. I think that there's I think people just want to be mad about something, you know?
Well,
And
you know,
to say that this is exploitative and it's unfair to her memory or whatever, it's like, again, it's fictionalized. But, and then again, it's like, you want to die on this hill? That's fine, I guess.
well,
But-
you know, it's a lot like, and I know you don't really care for this director's movies. So it's like Isle of Dogs by Wes Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
He was very respectful of Japanese culture. All the Japanese actors spoke Japanese.
right.
He didn't put subtitles up.
Right.
And then, you know, as a little joke, he was like, "Oh, but all the barks were translated."
Right.
But he was very respectful. And Ashley and I were reading from some Japanese film critics, and they were just finding things to complain about, because how I read it, it was like, well, he respected your culture, so here's everything else that's wrong with the movie. And it's like, well, all this stuff is fine.
Like, why are you mad?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can just like stuff. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know? And I think what the big problem is with general audiences and watching Blonde is it's an insane, surreal roller coaster chaos thrill ride. I mean, there is nothing traditional about the filmmaking here.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why people are so upset.
True.
Honestly, they want to say it's because it's brutal, it's exploitative, it's blah, blah, blah. They just don't like it.
They just don't like it.
It's just not for them, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It was for me.
Well,
So,
yeah.
again, Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Oh, that was Andrew Dominic as well?
Killing Them Softly. These
Fuck
are
yeah.
phenomenal films, guys. And he is just, you know, continuing on pushing the limit. It's been a
Hell.
while. It's been a while since Killing Them Softly, so I'm glad that he's back.
Hell yeah. See, now I really want to see it.
It's been like 10 years since.
I mean, I was already going to watch it anyway, but,
Yeah.
oh, well, tight, dude.
Yeah, dude. So go see Blonde.
Or
Okay.
get on your Netflix.
Get on your Netflix and watch Blonde.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give yourself some time. It's almost 3 hours, but you'll be fine.
Hell yeah. Well, welcome back,
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah, man. It feels weird. I don't know why this time coming back after a week feels weird, but maybe because it felt longer than a week, I guess.
Yeah,
Maybe.
when you said that, you know, we watched Pearl in between, I was like, that was forever ago. But
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's because this trip to Austin, Ashley and I came back on a Monday rather than a Sunday.
yeah.
So, anyway, well, in case you've forgotten, this week's episode, picked by Jeremy, is Pickpocket. Dude,
Yeah.
this movie was really fucking good.
It is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we were kind of talking about off mic, I didn't realize how short the movie was. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's only an hour and 16 minutes.
Yeah, it's short.
Like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So, dude, what were your first impressions? Since you had also never seen this movie.
Yeah. My first impression was I love just the mood, the tone, right? I am a sucker for anything sort of choreographed and crime, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean, pickpocketing is just, you know, right up there because especially near the end where they're getting really proficient at it and he's, you know, they're passing it off to other people and dropping it into other strangers so they can pick it up later. These all have terms, by the way, that I meant to look up before this because there is jargon for pickpocketing, but I didn't want to Google pickpocket jargon on my work computer.
Get flagged.
Yeah. So, but there is, you know, a whole, like you could write volumes of textbooks for pickpocketing. I mean, it's a science.
And as we learned in the movie, there are books.
It's a real skill that people can pick up. Magicians do it, really.
Well, yeah.
Because, you know, they do the thing where they surprise you by giving you your own watch, stuff like that. And we see a little bit of that in the movie with him practicing on his table leg and him doing it, you know, on people.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. There are certain... and I love the... you know what? All right. So I don't want to get too far into the pickpocketing because that's like my favorite part of the movie. But,
Okay. Well, then here. My first impressions. I loved it. I agree. I also love the pickpocketing parts. When the movie was over, though, I was having a hard time, like, trying to figure out what kind of movie this was.
Sure, yeah.
Because the opening text says it's not necessarily a thriller.
Right. Robert, I want to say Bresson, but I think it's like Bresson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he opens with this text, which is really interesting, because a few years before this, Hitchcock did the same thing.
Okay.
With the you done?
Yeah.
With The Wrong Man. It's with Henry Fonda. And
Okay.
there's an opening text where it's like a disclaimer. It's saying that, hey, this isn't like a traditional Hitchcock movie. Like, this isn't, suspense. This isn't this and this.
Okay.
Right? And I was reading where that is true, right? This one is still very much Robert Bresson.
Yeah.
In terms of his past filmography, that I was reading about in the articles. I haven't seen the Balthazar one. I have seen A Man Escaped, which is amazing. It's so good, right? And sorry, we were talking about the disclaimer. It's odd, right? It's sort of like it's putting you in a space where now you have expectations, or it's subverting your expectations, whatever you had going into this, right?
Yeah. I would say subverting, because I was fully under the impression this was going to be sort of like a heist movie.
Yeah, it's like a crime drama, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like that, nor does it sort of play out like that.
No. But nor does it feel like a romance either, because at the end of the text it says it's about two people finding each other that wouldn't normally, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of odd because, as we'll see, in the film, he already knows
Janine? Or it's like Jeanne?
Yeah, Jeanne. I think that's right. I was trying so hard to listen how they pronounced it, but they say it so fast.
Well, and they're French, so
and their accent is so that so I'm like, I don't know, they're saying Jeanne. That's fine. He already knows her.
Yeah.
She's the one that keeps trying to get him to see his mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll get into in a little bit. So I don't know. It's strange the way Bresson sees this film, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's different the way I see it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Well, I would tell you to do the synopsis, but we kind of already talked about it.
I mean, yeah, it's a lonely guy who pickpockets people, who is become obsessed with the art of pickpocketing, right? He wants to get better at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Instead of working.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a form of procrastination, but also, and we'll talk about it later, it's sort of like relieving the guilt of stealing from his mom and not seeing his mom and not going to work and not doing the traditional thing. He's doing it to get away from all of that, right? And then of course he meets Jan, which I thoroughly believe he already knows, because she lives in his mom's building, right?
Yeah.
They're neighbors. And his best friend is trying to get him legitimate work
yeah.
right?
Jacques.
He befriends a police officer, as almost to see how far he can push himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how close he can get without getting caught, right? And again, he just puts his whole life into this pickpocketing thing, where he even befriends other pickpockets, and they teach him how to do stuff, and they teach him how to do group jobs, which again has a specific name, and I don't remember it right now, where they pickpocket, but they pass it on. So if you get caught, you don't have it, right?
Right.
It's all about continuous movement of the object until you're out of there, right?
Yeah.
It's genius. I mean, maybe at the end we'll give some tips on how not to get pickpocketed, but
yeah.
Because this movie was even banned in, I think it was Finland, for basically telling you how to pickpocket people. Isn't that funny?
That is pretty funny. Because I did wonder that. I was like, maybe that's why the disclaimer was there, to be like, hey, look, like we're not saying you should go out and pickpocket people.
I mean, maybe, but I truly believe that Bresson doesn't see this as a crime thriller. He doesn't see it as a crime drama.
Yeah.
He sees it more as like maybe a human drama, a human interest piece.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
he gets pretty good at it. He leaves the country for a couple of years. He goes and travels around, right?
Which, I'm gonna be honest, spoiler alert, the math of that kid doesn't add up. If he was gone for 2 years, that kid was clearly at least 3 or 4.
Not she got pregnant like he didn't do it.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I know that's
The
what
math doesn't add up.
No, they're
If he
not
was-
saying that's his son.
No. I'm saying that he was gone for 2 years and he comes back and she's got a kid.
Yeah.
That kid is clearly older than 2 years
Oh,
old.
I see what you mean. Okay,
Yeah.
the actor is. Got it.
That's all.
I don't even think I clocked that.
No, yeah, because as soon as I saw, I was like, that kid is so much that. No, that kid is older than 2.
Anyway, so he comes back. He
Tries to go straight.
right sees Gian again. Right. Mm-hmm. Is that how we decided to say it?
Yeah, Gian.
Gian. Sees her again. Promises to go straight. Promises to help her and her child. Right.
Yeah.
Because some reason he's in love with her, and that hasn't really been alluded to. Not really.
Yeah.
And then he does get caught, right? He gets caught. He goes to jail. And have you seen The Machinist?
No.
With Christian Bale? Fuck. Fine.
I know he's killed himself for that role.
It's finally like he's caught, therefore he can relax,
Yeah.
right? He's finally free of this anxiety, this guilt, right? And then he finally feels okay to love Gian, right?
Right.
In a sense.
Yeah.
And then the movie's over. That's Pickpocket. And it's different, right?
Yeah.
At the end of it, I was like, I don't know what to give this thing, right? Rating wise.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I liked it, but do I love it yet? I don't know. And after reading about it, I do love it. I think that, it takes time, but because again, looking at it in terms of filmmaking,
Oh yeah, it's
filmmaking's great, right? I love the way Bresson uses the camera as sort of like, you need to pay attention to this, and we're following this wallet, or we're ahead, right? We see Michelle's hand, right, before it does anything, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we're early, right? I love that, the way he uses the camera for this unique style of storytelling. I am not crazy. Which is completely understandable because he's not a real actor, at least not at the time.
oh the guy who plays
Michelle. So I wrote his name down.
it's like
Martin LaSalle. Martin LaSalle? Martin LaSalle, it doesn't matter.
yeah, because this was like his first role.
Right, he was a non-professional actor. He'd never really done it before. And so that scene where the cop is in his apartment and he like yells and throws the book down, it's not great, right? Acting-wise, it's not fantastic. But the subdued, stone-faced, gaunty, lanky guy is perfect for this. I see no fault in that.
No, not
right?
at all. I didn't even realize that.
I don't see a fault in anything else. That was the only thing that really kind of bothered me, right? That may be the end with Jan, but in terms of acting.
Right.
But Bresson uses his naivete with acting, and I think sort of uses that to the story's advantage, right?
Well, and and he's mainly doing a lot of physical acting.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he doesn't really talk that much. It's more so in his face and in his movement.
Yeah.
He does more voiceover,
Yeah.
which you don't have to be really expressive in your voiceover.
Not necessarily.
Especially if he was probably getting direction of just tell the story. Like if you were reading a book. That's how I took the voiceover narration, is it's like he was just reading the story to the audience.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't trying to add anything special. He
No,
was
not
just like-
necessarily, right? He, I think he has ambitions of being a writer, right? He has sort of these aspirations, these dreams, but really he just wants to be good at this pickpocketing thing, right? All right. One thing that I loved, and we can start talking about Michel, is in The Guardian, I think is who said it, that he resembles a Paul Schrader character. And to give you context, he wrote Taxi Driver.
Right.
Paul Schrader. He also wrote Bringing Out the Dead, First Reformed, and just recently...
And Mishima.
right? And just recently, the card counter. And these protagonists are very solemn. They are filled with guilt, right? They're loners. They keep to themselves, right? They are afraid of getting close to others as well, right? And I thought that was a perfect example of if you're not too familiar with the older films, to put it in perspective, here's some others, right?
Right.
And this is sort of how to paint Michel, right?
Yeah.
And I loved that comparison. I see it 100% because he is terrified of getting close to people. He's terrified of getting too close to his own mother, right? Mm-hmm. Which I completely understand. Because, she's dying, right?
Yeah.
And it probably devastates him to go visit, which is why he doesn't, right? He takes care of her, he gives her money, all that stuff, but to go visit would be too hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it would almost be like admitting to himself that, she's going to be gone soon.
Right.
But if I keep back, she's still alive in my mind.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's something like that. That's what I think. I also love that he, instead of facing these things, he just dives into something else, right?
Yeah.
And replaces the guilt of not seeing his mother or stealing from his mother, which he does.
Yeah.
Or, the guilt of turning down all of these job opportunities from Jacques, right? Mm-hmm. He replaces that with the guilt of pickpocketing, right? And almost compartmentalizes. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why I'm feeling guilty. I'm pickpocketing, right?
Yeah.
Those are the feelings I'm feeling. It's not anything else. I don't need to worry about anything else. It is just this. And this is why I'm anxious. This is why I feel this way.
Yeah.
And I love that the first time we see him do it in the beginning of the film, he gets caught. Right?
Yeah.
It was not great the way he did it. It was pretty clunky and pretty it was sloppy.
I'm shocked he didn't get caught sooner.
I know.
I mean, he got caught as soon as he walked out, but I was kind of shocked he didn't get caught in the moment.
So, what he learns from this, right, is to go and practice, right, basically. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he does, and I think he does this before he meets the other gentleman with the short hair. I don't remember his name.
I don't think he had a name. Maybe he did. I don't know.
He hangs up his suit jacket and starts practicing getting stuff out of the jacket.
Yeah.
Other pickpocketers put bells on the jacket. If you ring the bell, you made too much movement. Right? So they do it without ringing the bells on the jacket. I'm teaching you guys how to pickpocket right now. I apologize.
Right. And now if there's an uprise and pickpocketing in Midland, they're going to come looking at this episode.
Yeah. You don't use your thumb either. You got to learn how to use your other fingers.
Because the thumb.
Because they're thinner, they're slimmer, and they can articulate better than the other. Anyway, so welcome back to Masterclass Pickpocketing.
Dude, can you believe if there was a masterclass for that shit?
That'd be rad.
Dude, I've thought about getting set up on masterclass, but you have to pay for it for the whole year, even though they like to paint the whole it's only $20 a month.
Yeah.
But it's $20 a month for the whole year that you're making me pay
the whole 12 months
up front. But Lynch is on there, dude.
I know.
Anyway.
So what did you think about the character of Michel?
I mean, obviously we're meant to like him. He's our main character. But I did find him sort of not whiny at the beginning, but just sort of like someone impersonating Michael Cera. Just very I guess. Okay.
That's funny.
My mom's dying. Or when he gets caught, you're you can't prove that I did it, and so, but then as the movie progresses, I'm okay, he's taking this seriously.
Yeah.
He's wanting to learn this art.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that he was sort of lying to Jacques and Jeanne. because, he never outright says that he's doing it. Like when he tells him.
Right.
Gian kind of figures it out.
Of course.
I'm sure Jacques probably figured it out too, but he never outright tells him, like, yeah, no, I'm pickpocketing.
Yeah.
But, like Jacques tells him, I think this is when it's implied that Jacques knows, because he's like, I hate thieves.
Yeah.
They steal from people and they steal from their friends.
Mm-hmm.
But he is an interesting character just in the fact that he becomes so obsessed.
Well, and also
pickpocketing.
he has a sort of arrogance about him as well, because when speaking with the police officer, he brings up the idea of the Superman, the master thief that should be above the law, right?
Right.
And I think in that moment he sees himself that way. Obviously, he thinks that he's a genius master thief.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because he's not good at it yet.
Yeah, especially when he sees one pickpocket on the train and thinks, "Oh, I can do that."
Right.
And I mean, he even says in the narration he got lucky.
Yeah.
So he kept doing it, and then he gets caught.
Right.
The guy says, like, "You can give me back my wallet, or we can call the cops."
Yeah.
And he begrudgingly is like,
"Yeah,
yeah."
But then you start noticing him getting a little bit better, and then he gets the wallet. He just takes the cash out and ditches the wallet. Right. Mm-hmm. Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. But right, it's the arrogance that bothers me, I think, the most about Michel, because it's sort of what's the word? It's unearned.
Yeah,
it's unearned arrogance. It's unearned confidence.
We've been talking about that a lot recently. But yeah, no, I agree that this arrogance kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's almost, and again, like you've been saying, it's almost like I think it came from the few lucky times he had, and it was like, oh my god, like, yeah,
right,
I'm so good at this.
Yeah.
I agree. It's, and I've been. What's funny is I've actually kind of brought that up in my day-to-day life as well, of people having like this arrogance because they've gotten in their own head, or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
There was something that also this from The Guardian. It said that he resembles a. I can't say that word. No. A priest, basically. I can't read the other word. Okay. He resembles a priest. He's troubled, stern, haunted by questions of sin and guilt. But he then goes on to say, as a priest gains access to people's souls, right? A thief wants intimate access to their money, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's sort of the opposite end of the spectrum, right? He resembles this sort of, it's almost like a Jesuit, right?
Okay, yeah.
Where, they're very reserved, very quiet, very, what was the word? Troubled and haunted by these things. And I keep bringing it up about, him feeling this way, but it's a big part of who he is, you know? He seems to be haunted by something. Yeah. I think the article said nameless guilt, right?
Yeah.
Over what? I don't know. Right.
Yeah. Like the fact that he's choosing to live in this slum, essentially, Yeah.
Or
he uses the little hook as his lock for his door.
Because it's been kicked in.
Yeah.
There's no lock there anymore. So he has to use the little hook.
Yeah.
And when he leaves, he just doesn't lock it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I did feel like because even Jacques brings up, when he brings Jeanne over to his house for his apartment for the first time, Jacques was like, yeah, he lives in a hovel. Look how great he is. You know? What kind of best friend is that, by the way?
I mean, best friend's probably a stretch. Only friend, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I did feel like he was choosing to live there.
Right.
Like, so by what you found, the nameless guilt. Like,
yeah.
Something is making him think this is all I deserve.
Right. And it also resembles the cell he's going to be in too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also like that we don't know why he decided to do pickpocketing, right?
Yeah, just
I don't even think he knows why, right? He doesn't know why he decided to steal and to be a pickpocket. I don't think he knows either.
I just think it's one of the, like, when we see him at the racetrack, it was just kind of like, I bet I could get that money out of that purse.
Bet I get that money out of that purse, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he did it, and it was like, oh my god, I did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost a compulsion to try something exciting and different,
Yeah.
you know, and something wrong, you know,
Yeah.
per the excitement.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing with the relationship with Jan is weird because
It is a little weird.
it's not really that fleshed out, right? For it to be mentioned in the disclaimer, I'm going to call it a disclaimer.
Yeah. Yeah, that, you know, these two people who find themselves who wouldn't normally, you know.
Unless he means him and the police officer, which they do become sort of friends-ish.
Yeah, him and the, I think he's the chief.
Sort of
chief
a
inspector.
frenemy,
Yeah.
I guess. Because, the officer, the chief or whatever, sees his arrogance, right? But sees through it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. In the article, it said they befriended each other. I don't know if that's true.
I think it was more of like a, just like, let's meet and talk kind of relationship.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say a mutual respect thing, because there's that phenomenal scene in Heat where it's De Niro and Pacino and they're at the diner and they're talking. And, they're not so different, yet they're on opposite sides of the law, right? It's so good. And they respect each other, but they know that they, whatever. It's amazing. It's not like that either.
Not so different, you and I.
Jesus Christ. It's not the way it goes.
Austin Powers.
Oh, my God.
See, I did say that.
All right. So, but it's not even that, right?
Yeah.
It's an odd sort of relationship. Like,
Yeah.
and it's, again, it's almost like, to me anyway, it was like Michelle was actively looking for him. It's not like they just stumble upon each other every now and then. It's like he went to him. Michelle went to the cop. It's not the other way around. It's almost like he's, again, taunting and trying to see how close he can get.
Yeah, because, like he says in the voiceover narration, I should have recognized his face. I don't know why I greeted him.
Yeah.
Because he was like, was it like, I saw myself walking to greet him and like.
Yeah, the article mentioned that, or one of them, I read a few, mentioned that he a few times fails to recognize people he's already met. Meaning he's so devoid of human interaction that he just erases it.
Yeah.
If
it's not about pickpocketing, purge it.
I guess, yeah. Pretty much.
It's like fine dining and breathing.
That's right.
Pickpocketing and breathing.
Pickpocketing and breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, because he does it later on because he sees the other police officer when they're doing the big group job.
Yeah.
He's like, he looks familiar too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, us, the audience, we know, like, oh, yeah, that's the other cop that you've ran into.
So, fun fact about the pickpockets, now that we're on that subject. One of them is a real pickpocket. He's the one that was the consultant that taught them all how to do it.
Really?
Yeah. And he had to stop after the movie came out because now people know what he looks like.
Oh shit!
And so he became a performer, like a magician, sort of.
That makes sense. That way he could keep pickpocketing.
So he can keep doing it, but he gets, it's like the straight and narrow.
Yeah. Was he the short-haired guy, or was he the other?
I don't think so. He was the other guy, I think. But, so in this sequence of them working together, right?
Which was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, I was really worried for some reason. I was like, I feel like we're not going to see like a lot of actually pickpocketing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole sequence was like, oh, thank God.
There were genius moves in there. So I've seen a few videos of people talking about how to do it, right? Before this, before we were even going to do this. A lot of it is misdirecting your senses. So at one point, one of the guys hits a guy on the shoulder from behind, and another guy takes the wallet from the other side. Mm-hmm. because he's paying attention to the hand on his shoulder, not his jacket, right? Or not his wrist, right? It's all about distracting and diverting your attention, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're looking over here, you can't see over here, right? If I'm touching you here, you're not paying attention to here, right?
Yeah.
It's all about distracting you, right? Which is why busy places, cramped places, like the subway, like the train, right? Where things are already touching you, right? So you're not going to pay attention to something else. And that's if they do it, if they're sloppy. If they're not sloppy, they'll do it without you knowing, without you feeling it.
Yeah, so, I'm sure I've said it before on the podcast. I've been to Australia. But that's something that was something they were very adamant about with us, is that we couldn't necessarily bring a wallet. We had to either have like a money lanyard, because that's harder to get off, because how the money lanyard was is all your cash and cards and important stuff would zip up. So it's harder for them to reach over and try to unzip it, because you're going to hear the zipper, or you're going to feel this thing coming off your neck.
Yeah, they could have cut it off you.
True. Or you had a money belt, essentially, and it went under your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I had that.
Okay.
And if I'm being honest, I hated it.
Yeah.
But
it sounds awful. Front pockets are usually okay, depending on how tight your pants are.
But yeah, it's because that was something that they're like, hey, some countries that you may visit are known to have pickpockets. You need to take these precautionary steps.
If anything, if you ever get pickpocketed, just know that they practiced that for a long time. I mean, they earned it. You know what I mean? Like it's dedication.
You heard it here, folks. Jeremy condones pickpocketing.
I do.
They've earned it.
They've earned it.
They missed their kids' bat mitzvah for this.
That's right.
They earned the $20 in your wallet.
That's right. Yeah. The slick thing that he learned, I think, the best way to do it that he learned was not to take it out of their jacket, is to get it out and drop it, right?
Yeah.
And then get it from the bottom. I think that's the...
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. I was like, that's slick.
That was slick, right?
Like,
I'm telling you. There's a movie called Focus that isn't very good, but...
that's with Will Smith, right?
Yeah, and Margot Robbie. And there's some cool stuff in that, too, about distraction and subverting your attention and things like that.
Yeah, because he's a con artist, right?
Yeah. And that's basically what pickpockets are. Except they're doing it without you knowing. Where con artists are usually more personable and more charismatic, and that's how they get your stuff.
Yeah.
But pickpockets, usually, they don't want you to...
Yeah, they don't run around shouting, "I'm conning you."
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to talk to you.
Yeah, or they are to distract you enough
from their partner to get your stuff. Yeah. Damn. I know.
Dude, people are gonna, if anyone's watching or listening, they're gonna be
Zach
they're gonna be like, dude, Zach's like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
We go to Dallas next month, and we're like, where's Zach?
Yeah,
he comes back like, dude, look at all these watches. Like, oh god.
That watch shit, that still blows my mind.
That was wild.
How people do that.
That does. I do have a lot of questions about that.
Well, because it's legit, because I've seen someone do it, right? Because on the thing I was talking to, there was like, it was one of those YouTube things where it's like, let's have an expert look at movie clips,
Oh, like GQ has like a therapist.
Yeah, and it was exactly.
Stuff, yeah.
And so it was like this magician, but he was more of a pickpocket, sort of one of those guys. Looks at movie clips or whatever. And he got some people from the crew, and he took their watch, and it was slick, man. Like, and it was a buckled watch. It blows my mind. And I watched him do it, and I still don't know how he did it.
Yeah, dude.
And he even tells you how he did it, and you still.
He even was like, "Look, I'm going to show you step by step," and you're like, "Well, see, and that's like with me with sleight of hand tricks, is I've read a step by step sleight of hand, and I'm still like." But how do you do that, though?
Honestly, it's like how my dad answers a question he doesn't know the answer to, very carefully. That's Like, how do you do that? Very carefully. It just takes practice. You know, that's all it does. It just takes practice,
Oh,
and
God,
that's why I would hate to get my stuff stolen. You know, that would really bum me out. But it's also like, that was cool. You know, like, good job.
Get your watch and like, yo, dude, you can keep that. That was cool.
That was rad. It was $20 on Amazon. I'll get another one. You know, I don't wear expensive shit, but you know, it's just so cool. The idea of pickpocketing and how much time it takes to be good at it.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
It's sort of like heist movies. That's why heist movies are cool.
Yeah.
Because of the
planning.
The planning. Because of how much preparation goes into it, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about that before. We have a whole episode on heist movies, don't we?
Do we?
From season 1, I think. Art of the Steal, I think is what it's called.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure we do.
Future Rain will probably put up the actual title episode right here.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I would have called it The Art of the Steal. That seems like a Jeremy thing to do.
I can always change it now and be
Oh, yeah,
it is called Art of the Steal. Oh.
Don't change it. I'm wrong, I'm sure.
But yeah, no, but man, that whole sequence was just so
I know.
cool. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And then here we go. Like,
yeah. And again, you're right, because there were a few moments where we have our actor Martin LaSalle, whatever, however you say it. There's a scene where it's a close up on his hand and he's practicing with the coin. The coin, and it's not great, right? It's not perfect, and because he's an actor, like, who cares? And then we push out or we pull back, and he's just drinking coffee in a diner or whatever, and I'm like, okay, we're not gonna see it. We're not gonna see pickpocketing because you have to do so much practice for that. But the way it's cut, the way it's edited, directed, whatever, they nailed it with that sequence, and I was very surprised that we got a full sequence.
Yeah, that's a good
of this
5-6 minute sequence.
It's awesome. Yeah.
I love when you think they fucked up, because like you said, like, one of the things that they would do is slip it into someone else's pocket. He slips it into that guy's pocket, and he has to follow him to the train, because I'm like, oh man, they fucked up. And then he's just like, whoop, and there we go.
It's so slick. These guys have to be like Swiss watches, man. It's crazy. And that's one of the things that I think impressed me the most is ditching it on someone else, like ditching it on another bystander. Yeah. Right? Not someone on their crew. They're ditching it on a stranger. And then they have to go get it, right? As a way to avoid suspicion and avoid getting caught. Yeah. That's I would have never thought of that.
Well, I also really loved the guy who teaches him all of this, pulls a double down, gets that guy's wallet, and then as the guy's coming back, slides it right back in.
Yes. Like, that was the coolest one, because he steals the wallet, gets the money, puts it back.
And then puts it right back in. Yeah, dude. That was
the raddest shit.
That one I was like, oh, okay. And the guy doesn't. Of course, it's a movie, so he was told don't react. But guy doesn't react, and it's just like, oh, dude.
It's a movie version of what would have. I mean, it wouldn't have been so
unless
the camera has to catch him do it. But it's like, I don't think he would have been that obvious about it. Yeah. The audience needs to see it, but he would have just like real quick.
Yeah.
Or
I was gonna say,
or bumped into him.
Or I was gonna say, if Robert was like, hey, these guys are gonna actually pickpocket you, just go about like your day or whatever.
Yeah. See if you notice.
But then again, it's 1959, so I highly doubt that level of thinking went into it.
I mean, it might have.
That would have been cool if Robert was like, hey, like, they're going to pickpocket you, just act natural.
It's rad. It's really cool. And if it is the short-haired guy who is the actual pickpocket, I think he's credited as just his last name. I mean, it's legit stuff.
Oh yeah, dude.
And again, I feel bad that he had to stop pickpocketing. Isn't that terrible that I feel bad for that? But I feel bad that he had to quit doing it.
Well, I mean, you got to think, he probably made a career of this.
Sure. So much so that he got, the attention of film producers or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how they did that. I didn't read how they got his attention.
I didn't even look it up. So.
Or it's like put an ad in the paper. Like, we're looking for a pickpocket.
We're looking for pickpockets. Yeah. You better be able to come in and steal our wallets while we're sitting down.
Yeah. Did you see Ocean's 11 with all those people? Not the original. The
remake with George Clooney?
yeah, with Clooney.
Yeah, of course that. Ocean's 12 is the one I don't remember.
Okay. In Ocean's 11, Matt Damon's character is a pickpocket, right?
Uh-huh.
And he used the momentum of the train and the bumps of the train to bump into someone and get their wallet out of their jacket, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? To me, it seems unrealistic to be just reading a paper this close to someone.
I will be honest, I tried not to laugh when he's slowly getting closer to that guy. Like,
Yeah.
reading the paper and, like, looking up and, like, getting a little closer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, he's
And it's supposed to be silly because he's not...
a professional, yeah.
He saw someone do it and goes, oh, I bet you I could do that.
I bet I could do that.
Which, by the way, wrapping it in the paper, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's genius.
Yeah.
I'm more impressed with this than I am anything else. It's the pickpocketing in this movie, but
So what you're saying is if Robert had done 45 minutes of just us seeing pickpocketing, you would have been happy.
satisfied.
And the other 45 of the plot.
Fine. Again, I like this haunted, lonely, this what did he call them? This insomniac malcontent is what they call the Schrader the Schrader protagonist, right?
Oh, okay.
I like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm drawn to it, which is why I've seen Taxi Driver, Bringing Out the Dead, First Reformed, Card Counter. That's why I like these things. But
Didn't you also see the Canyons?
I did. I did see the Canyons.
But see, that wasn't written by Paul Schrader. It was directed by Paul Schrader.
Yeah.
It was written by our baby boy, Bret Easton Ellis.
That's right. That's right.
Which is more disappointing, in my opinion.
Oh.
Anyway.
Can't win them all. But yeah, I'm drawn to that. So that's another reason why I love this movie. But to me, it's just the fun of the pickpocketing is a lot of it. I think that the other stuff is secondary to me, but only because Bresson is leaving a lot of this up to our interpretation, like his relationship with Jeanne,
yeah.
his reasoning for pickpocketing, the inception of the guilt that he feels and why he's so lonely and why he feels the need to be so reclusive, right?
Yeah.
That stuff is up for your interpretation, I think. Bresson is not making it clear to anybody.
Nah, yeah.
Which is cool.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you've been kind of saying, his relationship with Jeanne, it does sort of just come out of nowhere.
I think so, and I don't know if I'm just dumb, but I felt that it wasn't fleshed out enough.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't alluded to beforehand. It's just they met, right?
Yeah, the only allusion we get to it is when he chastises Jacques for, like, you love her, don't you? Like, admit it.
Yeah, you're right. There was
and
that
that's
moment.
about it. Because that's just such a jealous little thing to do.
Yeah.
To chastise your friend for liking the girl you like.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't blame him. He didn't know you liked her.
Right, yeah. And also, it's, what are you going to do about it,
Yeah. He's going to steal his wallet. That's what you're going to do.
So steal his wallet,
Yeah. Which I'm 90% certain he did. Because I wanted to talk about that real quick.
Sure.
When Jacques is telling him how, like, thieves disgust him. Mm-hmm. We see that shot of his jacket open with his wallet, and then it cuts back to Jacques and then back to Michelle, and he's got Jacques' jacket and it's closed. And so I'm like, oh, dude, he for sure stole his wallet.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Again, just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
Just because he wants to, and it makes him feel like one of those Superman master thieves.
Yeah.
Right? That he thinks should be above the law and that are the superior being.
Like a Robin Hood.
Yeah. But instead of giving to the poor, you just keep it.
Keep it, yeah.
Yeah. He is the poor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did like that at the end when he's caught, finally, he just feels like he can relax. And he's finally where he needs to be. Right?
Yeah.
Which also, I mean, it's another way I think for Michel to avoid, his responsibilities and his whatever, right? Because, I mean, his mother is dead, right?
For sure.
So he doesn't have to worry about visiting her and keeping that relationship afloat, right?
Yeah.
But he also gets to avoid everything else, So it's almost like he's getting what he wants, which is maybe the reason why he pickpockets in the first place.
Yeah. Sort of like a...
He wants to have fun until he gets caught, and then gets what he wants, which is being alone.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Who knows? So Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
I am. Yes, sir.
Dude, yeah, man, I liked it.
I did too.
I really did. I also wasn't expecting it to be... I meant to bring this up at the beginning. I wasn't expecting to be in French.
Oh.
Because of the fact that the name, the title of the movie's in English.
Yeah.
I just assumed it would be...
In English.
Well, and what's funny is, it's... The title is in English. Mm-hmm. Like, even on the actual movie. Mm-hmm. But, dude, I dug it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Yeah, I didn't have any complaints about it.
No, none.
Just, I guess the one complaint is, what movie is this? What kind of movie is this?
I know where to put it, right? I think simply it's just Robert Bresson.
Yeah.
I think that's its perfect genre.
Yeah.
Because it is, if I'm to understand correctly, this is very on brand. This is what his movies are like. A Man Escaped is sort of the opposite, where it is an innocent man trying to escape a POW camp, right?
Okay.
And it is amazing. I like it better than this, but that doesn't mean Pickpocket's bad. It just means Man Escaped is better.
Yeah.
And it's very procedural. Like, he needs this to get that, to make that,
Okay.
to get out, right? And once you get out, you got to get all the way out, right?
Right.
And it's very suspenseful, very thrilling, right? It's awesome. Go find A Man Escaped and watch it. I'm sure it's on HBO Max, just like this one probably is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man. So, buddy, are you ready to know what we're going to talk about next week?
yeah, I'm very curious.
You're going to be excited.
Am I?
Yeah. I went back and forth a little bit because I was thinking about it a little bit at work, and then I got busy, and then right before we started recording. But I got it.
Okay.
So in keeping with the theme,
Sure.
mainly the theme of this movie, next week we're going to talk about RIFIFI.
Oh, RIFIFI! That's what I'm talking about, bro.
Another French movie? Yeah, I know, 2 French movies in a row.
In a row.
This is a heist movie, so it's different.
Yep. It's a heist movie, so it's different.
You told me about the movie when I was really getting into the Criterion Collection. You were like, dude, you gotta get RIFIFI.
Gotta get RIFIFI.
And
So good.
and I did, and then I watched the episode of In the Closet with Nathan Lane, and he picked it out.
Yeah.
But only because of the title, because he, if I haven't made it clear on the show, I love Nathan Lane. I think he's amazing. He was saying how it sounds like he and his husband's next door neighbors calling for their dog. He was like, RIFIFI! And he's like, plus it's a heist movie. My husband loves heist movies.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if even Nathan Lane is saying that he would probably love this, like, it has to be good.
It has to be, right? And it is. So, awesome. Great choice.
Yeah, buddy. I knew you'd be excited for that. Would you like to know my honorable one, the one I may have gone with? I was leaning more towards Carol Reed's Odd Man Out.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I was like,
hadn't seen that one either.
I'm like, it's not time for that one yet.
Okay.
So RIFIFI.
Nice.
Yeah.
Solid choice.
So everyone, we hope you enjoyed Pickpocket, and we will see you next week for RIFIFI.